Your sisters will always break your heart, pierce straight to the center of it and split it in two. And your sisters will always make it whole again. It's what we do, what sisters do. Megan Abbott, Dorado Drive. This is AMI Audiobook Review. I'm your host, Jacob Shymanski. Megan Abbott is one of the top writers of suspense right now. She's one of these authors that's really settled into her niche and stuck with it. She writes about women in either competitive or secretive settings with influence from crime thrillers and even noir fiction. To give you a picture of her style, here are a few of her popular titles. She's probably best known for Dare Me, which is about competitive cheerleading and got a TV adaptation a few years ago. I think that was on the USA channel. And there's also The Fever, which is about a mysterious illness that spreads amongst teenage girls in a small town. There's also You Will Know Me, which is about a elite gymnastics family. The Turnout is a gothic story about sisters that run a ballet school. And Beware the Woman is about a pregnant woman that meets her complicated father-in-law for the first time. It's like a suspenseful horror about hyper-conservative style gender dynamics around pregnancy. We actually reviewed that one on the show last year. Fantastic read. I loved that one, even though it wasn't critically acclaimed or anything like that, but it really did it for me. And today, we're reviewing Megan Abbott's latest book, which came out in June 2025. Here's a synopsis of Dorado Drive. The three Bishop sisters grew up in privilege in the moneyed suburbs of Detroit, but as the auto industry declined, so did their fortunes. Harper, the youngest, is barely making ends meet when her beloved, charismatic sister Pam, currently in the middle of a contentious legal battle with her ex-husband, and her eldest sister Deborah approach her with an exciting new club. The Wheel offers women like themselves, middle-aged and with declining means a way to make their own money, independent of husbands or families. Quickly, however, the Wheel's success and their own addiction to it leads to greater and greater risks, and a crime so shocking it threatens to bring everything down with it. The audiobook is about 10 and a half hours long, narrated by Brittany Presley. It's available on Sela in human narrated audio and Audible and Spotify. So lots of places you can grab that one. We're reviewing this one with regular contributor Sarah Hillis, who brought it to my attention. Sarah, how's it going? First of all, like opening thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I first of all, I like the list of those other books. I keep meaning to dig into them, especially the cheerleading one could be really
Yeah,
cool.
that's the one that brings to my attention too. Like, that sounds awesome.
But yeah, I really like the character-driven nature of the plot. Like nothing happens that isn't motivated by people's motivation, like their needs and their wants and their like. It's very character-driven. It's not sort of random action. I don't know. I like it that it's about people's desperation. Like that's the theme that I see running through the whole novel is desperation.
Everybody is desperate in
Yeah.
some way or another. And
Yeah.
it's almost pretty much everyone is in some sort of financial dire situation. And so it drives so much of the desperation from everyone, which makes sense because the book is set in Detroit, which has seen the decline of the auto sector and it's like significantly affected the lives of people. And it's kind of an interesting bit of psychology because the three main characters, they were really rich growing up because there's tons of auto sector money flowing in, and then it just sort of all went to hell. And so it's weird to be super rich at one point and then go back down to earth. And I think that's an aspect of the characterization that was so well put together by Megan Abbott. But the book really is about the wheel. And it's the best part of the book, in my opinion. So, Sarah, what is the wheel?
Well, for starters, it's not a pyramid; it's a triangle. People are trying to insist throughout this book that this is not a pyramid scheme, and there's no hierarchy because what happens is the Wheel is a, well, they call it an investment club. It's weird. It's a weird investment club because you don't pick stocks and like pull your money and invest it. you Each new member brings $5,000, and each member who recruits members moves up this quote unquote triangle till they reach the receiving position, and then they are given the $25,000 from the latest crop of new members. And the idea is you run the wheel, and you can run the wheel several times, provided you recruit enough members, or you can start your own clubs too. We don't have a sense of like how much extent the wheel has, like whether the leader of it sort of made it up or whether she started it because, I don't know, she saw it on the internet somewhere or something. We don't really get a backstory, which is sad. I really wanted to see more about how it got started and who started it and that kind of thing. But yeah.
You know what the best thing about the wheel is, this pyramid scheme, is that it seems so real. It feels like something that would actually happen. And to be clear, once you receive that $25,000 because you're at the top, you go back to the bottom. And
Yeah.
the next person in line gets to go at the top. And then, like 2 weeks later, they do another ceremony where you receive your $25,000. And so, like, I was reading this, someone was like, does this work? Like, could this actually be legit? Because like some people are actually coming out of this with $25,000. But the problem is the only reason there's money coming in is because there's more and more women being recruited. Like it's a
Yeah.
scam. Tons of people are never going to get their money back. It's a giant scam, but nobody wants to admit it. There's like this psychosis where people just fully believe in the wheel. And it's super unfair
Yeah.
because some people get higher in the pyramid faster than others, and it leaves a bunch of people that just invested $5,000 to go into it and never receive it. And so this leads to a lot of greed and anger, and ultimately a kind of surprising murder about halfway through the book,
Yeah.
which I think caught you off guard, eh?
Yeah, I was like, "Wait a second, okay, that changed things for me." But no, the thing about the club is they talk all about sisterhood and women, together, and women empowering women,
Helping each other out, yeah.
but all it is exploitation. Like, you're just exploiting the poorer women that you know, or the women that need the money, and maybe you don't need it as bad, but you say, "Oh, come to this club and we'll give you money," and you just have to bring your life savings or whatever you might have in the bank. Like $5,000, not everyone has $5,000 to just throw around.
And so the whole first half of the book is sort of setting up this psychological thriller suspense around the wheel and the
Yeah.
desperation of these people that desperately need money, and the paradox, the contradiction of it being meant to be this like supportive system for the women in the community, while what it's actually doing is exploiting the women who are really in need of some financial injection in their life. Um, but then halfway through, there's a murder. Pam, one of the main characters, gets killed. It's not really a surprise. It's hinted at in the prologue. You know what's going to happen eventually. But then the book flips into essentially a murder mystery and really picks up the pace. And
Yeah.
I like that bit because God, the first half was slow. Like I love the idea of the wheel, but it was written so slow. Megan Abbott spent an unbelievable amount of time setting up the characters, the three sisters of Harper, Debbie, and Pam, which are all fascinating characters in their own right. But God, this book could have been 25% shorter easily. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose, but what I
Mm.
think is really good about how she did that was there's alcoholism in their family, and you see the three sisters, they are alcoholic children. So you understand Deborah's the one that tries to keep everybody going, straight on the path. Harper's the middle kid with all her issues, and Pam is like the one that everybody has to love Pam. She has to be making everybody happy. And that's a complete trope of alcoholism and like the children of alcoholic families. And so
Hmm.
in a way, like I really think that was a really brilliant I agree with you that for story values, it was a little slow, but I think I understand why she did what she did because it plays into the second half very much as well. Um,
It might be a bit misleading to say that the book is about the wheel. I'd argue it's the most distinctive part of the book, but it's about the three sisters and their relationship,
yeah,
uh, because it informs them getting involved in the wheel, why the wheel ultimately collapses, and why the murder ended up happening in the first place. What would you say is like the highlight of the book for you, like the number one selling point?
I think for me, the number one selling point would be just the sibling dynamic. It was so well done. Uh, the idea of how you love your sisters to death, but there's always these little resentments, these little things that happen that over the years that you all kind of, you all kind of realize that each of you is a bit competitive for whatever you're competing for, your parents' approval or whatever it might be. Um, and that continues through your lives. There's always this little dynamic that, especially sisters have, brothers might have it too, I don't know, but certainly sisters do have, being a sister, I know this. And
Hmm.
I just thought the contradictions and the amazingness of the sister dynamic was brought forth just really, really well in this book.
People are complicated. It's not as if they're good and bad people. Like the people that you love can also have serious flaws, and something that's done really well in this book. And if you like books that are character driven and take lots of time to examine people's personalities and how they can be very complex, like you would love this book. It's mostly told through the perspective of Harper. She's basically the main character, and there are bits of extended internal monologue just ruminating on Pam and Debbie and why they are the way they are and their history. And I don't know if you notice this, but the way Megan Abbott writes, she has tons of mini little flashbacks where
Oh
instead of
yes.
like doing a whole scene as a flashback, like she'll like something will happen, and then in the internal monologue they'll be like, uh oh, and that reminded me of X and Y that happened 20 years ago and this and this and that, and then three paragraphs, and then it would just come right back like a
Yeah,
really short
yeah.
flashback. Hmm.
Yep, she does like to do it that way, which is illuminating. Sometimes it's like, could we just get back to the story? But mostly it's good.
I think it's her way. It's Megan Abbott's way of creating backstory, but without just doing long extended sequences of flashbacks, which are super
Yeah,
annoying. It's
well,
kind of like a middle ground. Hmm.
that's what your thoughts do, though. You like something happens, and you're like, "Oh man, that made me think of this thing," and you don't go, "Once upon a time in 1983, I did this, and here's what everybody said." It's just like, that reminded me of her touch on my arm and, back in the cabin or so, like you just kind of go, "Oh, I miss her," or something, and you come back to the scene. Like, yeah, it's inner thoughts really, most of the time.
And I don't know if this was a, of I don't think if this was because of the way the narration was done, or if it was Megan Abbott's writing, but there is kind of like this wistful, nostalgic feel to the way that she writes,
Oh yeah.
um, with kind of like funny sentence structure at times. I don't know if you've noticed this. There are some funny descriptions in here, and there was one that really stood out to me, like a really weird bit of writing. I don't know what to make of this one. Listen to this. Three of Pam's friends, all cool blondes, formed in a creamy fist at the center of the room. A creamy
Yeah.
fist? What?
Yeah, I think she was trying to, talk about the feminine nature of them and then the fact that they were closely packed together, I guess. Yeah, she does have some interesting, metaphors there and similes.
And there's a whole bunch of other ones like these.
Yeah.
And we touched on it earlier. Like the language around the pyramid scheme, the club is really funny to me. It's not a pyramid, it's a triangle. It's not an investment, it's a gift. You're not recruiting people, you're inviting people. It's all very Orwellian. It kind of really sets
Yeah.
up an atmosphere around the club that's like really ominous. And this is one of the parts of the book that really reminded me of Beware the Woman, which is another book by Megan Abbott that we reviewed on the show. And it's so much suspense, especially in the first half of the book, just oozing suspense. You know something is off and you're just trying to unravel it. And I don't know about you, but Abbott keeps her cards close to her chest. I thought it was difficult to figure out what
Yeah.
was going on, what the issue was. And ultimately, when it turned into a murder mystery, there were like 5 suspects that at some point I was like, oh, yeah, they did it. I did
Yeah.
not predict
Yeah.
the ending.
Yeah. No, I didn't predict it either. And the thing I find, I'm going to spoil this for everybody, but the really cool villain that I wanted to be the villain, she's so conniving and just lovely. I love her. She
Who,
just
Sue?
isn't, yes, Sue. She just isn't quite the villain I wanted her to be. I wanted her to be the mastermind of every evil thing ever. And she just wasn't.
She was a bit of a red herring.
Yeah.
Like she was clearly meant to be a distraction. I would have been disappointed if she ended up being really sketchy, um, and ended up like being the reason why Pam got murdered. All it just turned out that she was extremely protective and committed to the club, but that
Yeah.
made her seem so malicious and creepy.
Yeah.
And then Demon Doug, which is Pam's ex-husband, he's also a pretty interesting character because he's a scumbag. Like he's a sleazy businessman
And he
who's gone
knows he
from being
is.
super, and he knows he is. He's super self-aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's super self-aware. He's a sleazy businessman who's gone from being super rich to super poor and super rich again and poor again. And he's just like an absolute madman with his money. Um, like kind of talented in a way. He's like siphoning off money from his children's education funds, which is as sleazy as it gets. But he's also one of the few people who's very accepting of Vivian, their daughter's sexuality, because she's gay and Pam does not handle that well. And so
No.
everybody calls Doug Demon Doug because he's a jerk, but he's also one of the few people that like accepts Vivian for who she is, other than Harper. But people just like assume Harper's okay with it because Harper is also gay herself. And it just goes to show that like some characters are complicated like that. And Harper and Demon Doug, people assume that he was the murderer, like right away. And it's like you see this in life when like something bad happens, people will jump to the first person that comes to mind, right? Like you just immediately need a culprit. And I kind of felt bad for Doug. I was like, man, he immediately just got ganged up on, and it
He
wasn't really his fault.
Yeah, he's the one guy I was pretty sure didn't do it because that would be boring, like you said about
Too
Sue.
obvious, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like this book. Brittany Presley is always a good choice for these kinds of novels, I think. She did
Mm.
Beware the Woman as well. And sometimes her like almost ASMR kind of whispery stuff gets a little on my nerves, but I understand why she's doing it because it's suspenseful and whatever. But mostly it's good.
The the club aspect, I really wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
I thought I was absolutely riveted anytime like the women have one of their meetings, and it's so funny. Like the most memorable part of this book to me was the scene where Pam receives her gift, her $25,000, and it's like this weird suburban home environment where there's all these housewives and women that just kind of get together and they just sort of like worship money in a weird cultish type of way. They have this box full of money and it gets passed around before it makes its way to Pam, and people look at it, they touch it, they rub it, they smell it, and they say, "Feel the power."
Yeah.
It's super creepy. It was like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what are the aspects of the writing that you thought were strange? I have more examples of weird
Yeah, I
writing
I
in
didn't
this
I
book,
didn't
but
make
like
note I didn't
no,
make
go ahead.
notes sadly, but no, just some of the metaphors or the descriptions of visuals, as you said, like creamy fist. Like I was like, that's very like poetic or like it's why did you pick that? Like you could have picked a tight knot or something. but you said a creamy fist. I don't know.
Is it
Um,
because like blonde hair? I don't know the
yeah, maybe
color of
something like that.
fingers.
Their
Maybe
heads
like
were together. I don't know.
I
Because
laughed out loud when I heard that.
they're all cool blondes, like it's this very.
Mm,
I guess she was trying to point out the opulence of these women in the inner circle, like
mm,
maybe compared to Harper's, whatever she had on that time. Like she wasn't, Harper is like, she works at the country club with horses where she used to ride the horses when she was young. So now she's like the stable girl or whatever. Well, the horse,
mm.
though, she teaches, riding, but she's not the country club member anymore. So she's pretty down at heel in that sense. So she kind of borrows people's clothes and that kind of thing to get dressed up. So I think some of the crazy ideas of what these people look like or what things look like, I think are her impressions of like, I'm so not in this world. So let's like, it just looks so bizarre to me now kind of deal. I don't know for sure, but Megan Abbott likes these crazy ways of writing, and it certainly, catches the ear or the eye, right?
Let me put it this way: the way she writes is very out there, but you can be confident that it wasn't written by AI.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I like this description, this passage about the wheel and how people interact with it. We thought it would fix things, Harper explained. The club, solve everything, heal everything. It was even harder to explain how the energy of the club took over everything, how everything else just fell away. And once you committed, hustle for your buy in, and then get your recruits, it seemed impossible to stop or even hesitate or think about what you were doing, what it meant to bring other women in, especially the easiest marks, the desperate ones, the vulnerable, the easily led. Soon enough, you would do anything to keep it moving, expanding. You wouldn't even think about it anymore. The fog of war. The truth was, at some point, at different points for all of them, they'd all decided not to know what they knew. That was the only way to keep going. The fog of war? In like, what did she mean by the fog of war
Well,
in
just
that
once
sentence?
you're in the thick of it, it becomes its own thing. That's all she meant. Like the fog of war it's a thing
Mm,
that in battle, stuff happens that wouldn't humans wouldn't normally do to each other, but they're in battle, and so things go very wrong very fast. And so the wheel, it was like that. Like once you're in it, you can't see outside of it. And so I really
mm.
liked that. I remember the fog of war now. I like that. I was like, wow, that was neat. I liked it.
It's kind of like, in other words, the fog of war. To explain what she was saying about how you kind of become myopic when you're in the club, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Her writing style it includes a lot of uh adjectives that should like double up. Like for example, how she says here, and once you committed, hustle for your buy-in, like committed and hustle. Like she does that all the time. And once you committed, comma, hustle. She could have just said once you committed for your buy-in. Like
No. No.
no, you think it's just two
No.
things at once? But
Yeah.
she does that all the time, like
Yeah.
constantly. In this quote, it happens like multiple times. Like here, especially the easiest ones, the desperate ones, the vulnerable, the easily led. Like she has these lists of
Yeah. It's
adjectives.
very Anglo-Saxon. It's very Beowulf. I love it. It's great.
Anglo-Saxon.
It's great. I love it. It's awesome.
It's very descriptive, but ChatGPT doesn't write like that, which is a good
No,
thing.
which is good. Yeah.
Do you find that you've become like hypersensitive to trying to figure out if things are written by AI like I am?
I don't read enough new stuff to sort of start doing that. I'm reading, like right now I'm reading Bleak House by Charles Dickens, which could never have been written by AI because it has 70 million word sentences and that sort of thing. So and I'm about to
Oh,
read a biography of William F. Buckley. I don't think he wrote it. This guy wrote with AI either. So it's 31 hours long. So
it's
yeah.
going to happen eventually, Sarah, where you pick up a book and then you find out after the fact that it was written by AI.
I know.
It's going to happen. You're just gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. You don't need to get
No.
used to it. Don't. If that
No.
happens, burn that book, delete it. 1-star review. All that to say, Megan Abbott's writing style is very distinctive.
Yeah.
It's sometimes slightly hard to follow. Like, it's not a dense book by any means, but like she kind of jumps from one idea to another quite suddenly. And so you really have to pay attention to this one. I wouldn't say this is like a particularly easy read. Would you agree with that?
Um, I'm of two
Mm.
minds. I kind of thought it wasn't too taxing, but then I'm reading Charles Dickens, so I don't know what that means. um, but no, you have to be in it. You can't just do it while you're doing like a really intensive other task. I think you have to sit with it and listen to what's going on, or rewind it several times. So I don't have to how to do that.
Right. I personally don't like books that are mundane. It's like the one thing I really cannot stand in books. And this is a suburban thriller. Because it takes place in like a suburban Detroit, in a neighborhood that was formerly like very affluent. Um, and it involves a lot of like housewives and just like women in the neighborhood, and
Yes,
they all
Jacob,
have
it
like these
does.
beautiful houses. I don't know. It just bothers me. It
I'm
just
sorry
seems like
there's
it's a
no
bad
swords and
setting.
sorcery. I'm sorry.
Uh, but this is why the pyramid scheme saved it for me. If this wasn't for the pyramid scheme, God, this book would be bloody boring. I I kind of wish there was a sword. There were no swords, but there were hammers at the very least.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's just like suburbia as a setting just bothers me.
But that's the thing. It can be so gothic and like who's hiding secrets from whom and what's going on and like Ashley Audrain's a really good writer of suburbia, for example. It's very interesting.
Sorry, who was that author?
Ashley Audrain, she wrote the Whispers and the Push and things like this.
Oh, okay, yeah, The Whispers is a really popular book. I think we talked about it on the show
We did,
not
yeah.
too long ago. Yeah. Anyways, I think if people like Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, you
Yeah.
might enjoy this one as well too. All that to say, I thought this book was okay. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I want to know your thoughts.
I'll go 8 out of 10. Just because I have to give it higher than you. Because I like suburban thrillers.
Why? Because it's gothic? Because it's realistic? I'm curious.
It's just, I like all the people's hidden motivations and how that all comes to light eventually. And I don't know. It's cool. It's gothic, I guess.
Everyone's little suburban house is like their own little castle, and everyone's their own count and duchess, you know.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I'm fascinated with suburban life. Anyways, have a good one. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
Yeah, no problem.
That was Sarah Hillis. She's a regular contributor to the show, and we were reviewing Dorado Drive by Megan Abbott. That's all the time we have for this edition of AMI Audiobook Review. AMI Audiobook Review airs weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern on AMI Audio and repeats every 6 hours. We're on all the big podcasting platforms, and that includes YouTube. You can email us your feedback at AMI Audiobook Review. At audiobookraeview@ami.ca. That's at audiobookraeview@ami.ca. I'm Jacob Shymanski. Happy listening.